I like Pokemon. I've played the games for as long as I can remember. I've consistently played Pokemon Go since that fabled summer of 2016, and I've even spent years and probably too many hundreds of dollars collecting the cards. I don't think I am wholly who I am without this franchise, and I don't think this is wholly a franchise without Kanto. Generation 1 will probably always be my favorite generation of this franchise, and I mean that with no nostalgic influence considering I wasn't alive when these things were made. But after 25 years, I still find that my favorite Pokemon, starter, even legendary, all reside in Kanto. And I wouldn't say I'm a self-proclaimed Gen 1er either. I can objectively recognize this is a piece of ass, and this is a thing of beauty. And speaking of comparing ass and beauty, that's what we're here for, you read the title. Ranking all 151 original Pokemon from worst to best. Each Pokemon will be judged on a scale of 50 between 5 categories, each one being worth 10. The categories I'll be judging these things on will be design, how interesting or visually pleasing a Pokemon looks, personality, how the Pokemon acts and emotes or how the design enhances those traits, and this applies to them individually, so a Pokemon intentionally designed to be cute or one intentionally designed to be ugly will both score well, depending on if it's going for that. Just so it's not penalized for the concept, the next category, what the Pokemon will be based on, and how well its ideas are executed upon. Viability, how useful and fun a Pokemon can be, and how you acquire it in a game or playthrough. And finally, it's shiny, how different and unique it looks when it sparkles, for better or worse. But what about competitive? No! I've always been a shiny hunter, not a battler, and it's my list, so fuck you. Speaking of my list, yeah, it is my opinion, if you didn't get that already. If you don't like it, cool. Depending on how well the Pokemon score, I will be placing them in tiers from E to S. The list is isolated in scale so that the lowest Pokemon will be a straight 0 out of 50, and the highest will be a 50 out of 50. And again, repeating myself, this is my opinion. You're not inclined to agree with me. In fact, the odds that you have the exact same order and opinion that I do is probably like, what, 1 to the power of 151? What the actual fuck? So with all that out of the way, let's get started with the worst Pokemon in Generation 1. Drum roll, please. Spearow. I hate it. There is nothing to comment on about its design. Its shiny is one of, if not the ugliest things I've ever seen in this franchise. It is just a worse Pidgey in every way, and you can't exactly get less creative than Bird. I have no desire to talk about this thing any longer, so moving on to the second worst Pokemon in Generation 1, Fearow. It's the exact same. I also hate it. The only reason it's a 1 out of 50 is because I didn't want 2 Pokemon to have zeros. Thankfully, this list will only get more positive as we go on. But while we're in the territory of things that are awful, Goldeen. It is useless and annoying and probably the worst water type. No, actually, yeah, absolutely the worst water type in this generation. And there's a lot of them. Kakuna has always been very unappealing and awkward feeling to me. It's just a worse Metapod from a worse evolution line that is virtually unusable. And Weedle is not far behind it in the same situation as Kakuna, just the worst of the better Caterpillar evolution line in this generation, which kind of makes these two as a pair completely obsolete. Rattata. It's ugly. There's really nothing to comment on about this thing other than that it is a rat, and people generally do not like rats. Pidgey has over time more and more become one of my least favorite Route 1 birds. There is nothing remarkable about it. When I was in elementary school and I was just starting out collecting Pokemon cards, so I didn't really care about what was like worth money, I remember trying to get a card for each Kanto Pokemon, and I pulled this really cool reverse holo Metapod that I really liked the artwork for. And one day at recess, I lost it. I asked around to see if anyone on the schoolyard had seen it. Nobody had. And then I came in from recess and saw it on a desk, scratched with a knife over and over again, and cut in half. This is all I have to say about Metapod. What the hell even is a Golbat? Because I feel like it's a disservice to call it a bat. It's ridiculously disproportioned and not in a like good cartoon kind of way. And my god, was Crobat much, much needed. The only thing I have in my notes about Pidgeotto is Bird. I think that works. Moving out of the E tier, we have Graveler. It is an ugly rock that's shiny, literally looks like shit. Raticate is just a bigger but still boring rat. Zubat is the bane of any player's existence when they're anywhere near a cave, but I find it a little endearing in some twisted way. Gloom. It looks so dumb. I don't care what credentials this thing has. It could not get hired anywhere. Look at that face. I don't like it. What is a Weeping Bell? It's just an incredibly forgettable and unenthusiastic grass type, especially grass poison, which is everywhere in this generation, and Bellsprout's higher because of the funny plants zombies. Ekans is a really cool snake. It would probably be higher if I really liked snakes. Seal is in the same boat where I don't exactly love seals. It is so boring, and I can guarantee you it would be in dead last if I was ranking these on their names. Following that right up is Dugong, also really boring design-wise, and has nothing really going for it. This is probably in the running for most boring evolution line in this entire franchise. Victory Bell scares me. It's not terrible, it's just I have no attachment to it, and it has nothing going for it that dozens of other things can do better. I feel like Persian shouldn't be this low, but it's just so forgettable compared to Meowth, which is tenfold better. It's just really at the disadvantage of its own pre-evolution. And before I learned that the ears are pink, this was the worst shiny to, like, tell apart from the regular in the entire franchise. Now that probably goes to Dwebble? I know, like, there's, like, Garchomp. I feel like I can never tell the difference between Dwebble. That's always been the hardest one for me. Krabby is a very bad crab Pokemon and a very bad water Pokemon. The only thing I can remember this for are those shit posts that point out the fact that it has a higher attack stat than Giratina. Jinx. I don't want to talk about Jinx. Oddish is just a little grass thing, and it's alright at being that. I still wouldn't call it good, but it's there. Golduck. At least Psyduck has personality. That's basically why it's higher. There's nothing else to talk about. It's Golduck. Bellsprout is a funny pea shooter, and that's it. I'm not going to comment on how it's Pokemon number 69 and looks... you know what? Staryu! Staryu is a kind of boring water type that really can express no personality because it doesn't have a face. And Starmie's also right there. You could switch these two and I would have no quarrel with you. They are both equally irrelevant. And at the top of our D tier is Pidgeot, a bigger bird that can do some alright stuff in an actual playthrough, but I still don't think it's worth using unless if you really, really need something to learn fly. Starting out the C tier, we have Poliwrath, who has no design feature making it look intimidating enough to deserve the fighting type. You just took Poliwhirl, made it a bit bigger, and made it angry, and you're supposed to convince me that that's a good design decision. Did I skip Poliwhirl? I feel like I skipped Poliwhirl. Hypno, and right after it, Drowsy. One's a pedophile, the other's a creep. Yup. Kingler is also pretty Just when there's so many water types in this generation, you're gonna need to stand out, and this can't manage that exactly. Though I gave it an alright rating in design because I kind of like the really big claw. Speaking of irrelevant water types, Seadra. This looks like one of those really awkwardly designed middle evolutions before Kingdra existed. Nidoqueen's weird. It doesn't look right. Its shiny's atrocious. It should have been the purple that Nidoking is, but they ruined that for some reason, even after changing other Gen 1 shinies. Whatever these things are, I don't like them. No! Horsey is a smaller and slightly more adorable Seadra. That's not high praise, don't mistake it for that. Lickitung is one of those really weird single-stage evolutions that just shouldn't really exist. Like, I don't see in a world of Pokemon where this was, like, necessary. Geodude looks like a really angry and sad puddle of mud, and I don't blame him. If it was actually good at being grumpy, I'd give it a good personality rating, but it's not. Tentacool is also very dull. It has a good-looking shiny, and that's about all the value it has. Mankey is incredibly forgettable, and also incredibly mediocre. It is outshadowed by the Machop line in every way if you actually were thinking about using it in any kind of playthrough. And while it pulls off the whole angry thing better than others, that's not enough to drag it out of mediocrity. Pinsir is baffling. Like, it feels like it's almost good, but then you stop to look at it and in actuality realize it's not. And also, why does this have a mega? Grimer's kind of funny, but you can't avoid the fact that it is just a purple blob of sludge, no matter how much kind of wacky personality you give it. Farfetch'd is really boring. It is just a bird, but they gave it a celery stick, and that's supposed to make it unique enough to be considered a mythical pocket monster. I don't think so. Parasect sucks. The only thing keeping it out of D or E tier is the really cool fact that it's basically a zombie Pokemon, but design, shiny, personality, and viability are all atrocious for this thing. There's no appeal if you want to use it and no reason for it to be used. Muck is bigger and sadder Grimer. I almost feel like pitying it until I remember that it's disgusting. And then I move on to Poliwag. Kinda cute, but nothing remarkable. I mean, I suppose it's not the worst tadpole Pokemon, but it doesn't have much competition, so I don't know why that was worth pointing out. Tauros is just a bull, which means it's alright, because bulls are cool, but that's it. It has 3 tails. That's the only difference. Also, I think this is one of the better lime green shinies. A lot of them are bad, but this one kind of works, barely. Beedrill is a drastic improvement above Weedle and Kakuna. It's a cool, if not dysfunctional design that I can get behind. Primeape, when it gets too angry, it dies. That's all I know about it. Hitmonlee is also just really forgettable. Frankly, I don't know if I would say I like any of the Hitmons, but Hitmonchan at least has a better shiny, and that's all I have to say about this fucking thing. Cubone has a cool concept with the whole idea of it's wearing its mother's skull on its head like it's playing dress up, but you'd never use this over even Diglett. Onix is big and it's rocks, and somehow they made a rock snake boring. I am a very big fan of Steelix, but this just doesn't do it for me. Machop is just a little guy that can punch stuff. It's very viable in a playthrough, but not very exciting. And starting out our top 100, we have Tentacruel. If this was 101, I wouldn't care. Rhyhorn, I'm actually rather fond of. It's basically just a rhinoceros, but I like all the curves and lumps it has on its design, and its shiny isn't the worst either. Plus, with the addition of Rhyperior in later generations, which I can't really take into account here, which kind of lowers its score, it's an alright evolution line. Tangela. Diglett's a cute little mole with a funny design and a funny shiny. It has a bit of personality and a bit of concept, and that's just enough to almost get it into B tier. I have no way of justifying how I like Caterpie so much, other than the fact that it's a cool caterpillar. Its shiny's great, its design is pretty good for just a worm, and though it's not really viable, it can be alright for really early game. You know what? Screw it. Random bonus 7 points for Caterpie. You heard me. It's a 27 out of 50, not 20. Golem looks so dumb. If I was just a boulder with T-Rex arms, I too would also want to self-destruct literally all the time. Arbok is an okay Pokemon with an incredible looking shiny. There are better snake Pokemon, but Arbok is alright for what it is. And starting out the B tier, we have Voltorb. Out of all the inanimate object Pokemon, this is one of the better ones I find. And I think it helps a lot that it's an inanimate object in the world of Pokemon, instead of just like a candle or a stick. Nidoran female is alright and kind of cute, but it's still kind of a rat, which means I cannot put it any higher. Execute in concept is a terrible idea, but it's kind of funny, so here it is. This thing is really dumb, but I can't help but like it. Marowak is okay. A lot of these 24 to 28s, I don't have much to say on other than that they're average. Right on, D. Shelder's a cute little clam with a really weird tongue and a good-looking and easily accessible shiny. I can really get behind Butterfree. I remember getting a shiny Caterpie in Ultra Sun, evolving it to Butterfree, and using its Compound Eyes ability to farm lucky eggs off of Chanseys. This is just a really good Pokemon that could be a lot higher if it was just in any way viable or a little more creative in design and concept. Abra's a little psychic kid. That's cool. I promise I'll start getting descriptive of, like, the really good ones, trust me. Machoke is a very viable, alright Pokemon. Don't like that it's wearing clothes, though. That's not okay. Nidorina. Psyduck, Wigglytuff, Electabuzz. Venomoth is a weird Pokemon with a really good shiny and some really interesting things around it, like about how it seems very odd that it wouldn't be the final evolution of the Metapod line, and how Butterfree is not the evolved form of Venonat. But that's just a theory. Charmeleon is the first of the starters on this list, and severely suffers from awkward middle stage design syndrome. There's a weird point on its neck, and it's really weird in color too. Like, it's from a really good evolution line, but on its own, it can't really stand. Doug Trio is just Diglett, but 3 of them, and that is enough to get it 20 spots higher than Diglett. This is one of those dumb concept Pokemon that work flawlessly. Nidorino also looks really awkward. A lot like Charmeleon, I really like the final stage, as you'll come to see, but the middle just doesn't work. It's really ragged and has points for no reason all over its body. Weezing! The only thing keeping this thing afloat is its good shiny and alright concept. Kadabra is a drastic improvement over Abra because it has a spoon, and Electrode is a drastic improvement over Voltorb. Actually, no, it's not. Actually, why is it so much higher? Magmar stands tall above its counterparts like Electabuzz, Jynx, and Pinsir, basically for the sole reason of its shiny is actually good. Aside from that, it may look dumb, but at least it's not as dumb as Magmotor. Raichu, I find a little underappreciated, but also shouldn't be that appreciated because it's Raichu. It's not bad. It's just overshadowed, and for a good reason. Slowpoke is dumb and funny, and frankly could be a decent ways higher if its shiny didn't suck. Executor is dumb and funny, and could be a ways higher if its concept didn't suck. Hitmonchan is this much higher just because I like the blue gloves on its shiny. Other than that, all the Hitmons are kind of dull. Clefairy was the closest thing to a fairy type before there was a fairy type. Its concept and the things about its background, like it being from the moon, I find really cool, and it's just a solid evolution line, which is why Clefable is also right here. One's just bigger. They're the exact same otherwise. Put them whatever order you want. Wartortle is up, and you'll find that all of the middle stages for the starters are always the lowest of the 3 in their line, for good reason of they're too big to be cute and too small to be good. Scyther is really cool, especially for a bug type, and has a lot of things I like about it, but I can't put it higher because the shiny sucks ass, and I really prioritize that for some reason. Closely followed by Wartortle, we have Ivysaur. Also kinda dumb, but it's the highest out of the 3 because it's in Smash Bros. I don't even play Pokemon Trainer. Rapidash, for just being a horse on fire, is pretty good. Its shiny, while not as good as its pre-evolution, is really good, and it's actually quite viable from how bloody fast it is. Nidoran Male is the better of the 2 Nidoran lines, goes for all 3 stages. It's a better design than the female, much better shiny, and also gets bonus points on concept for inventing the whole male-female mechanic. Chansey's alright. Its shiny's puke green, which sucks, but it's got a really cool concept, and while its design is just a pink ball, it's still pretty good. Flareon is by far the lowest of the evolutions, and it's just because it's the most unenthusiastic out of the 4. It doesn't have the cuteness of Eevee, the personality of Jolteon, I don't want to talk about what Vaporeon has. So Flareon's just kind of left with being the fire one. Vulpix is a really good example of a two-stage evolution line done really well. This thing is cute, but not small enough to where you would think it would need a middle stage before it fully evolves. Sandslash has cool spikes on its back, and that gets it into B tier. Coughing is just Cancer the Pokemon, and that is good. Not Cancer. The concept. You know what? I'm just gonna... Amistar is an okay fossil Pokemon that looks kind of creepy, and I don't like that. Jigglypuff can sing, and it has a great personality. If only its shining was better, it could actually be pretty high. And Cloyster... What is there to say about Cloyster, actually? Squirtle comes in as the lowest of our starters, and it's just because it's kind of just a turtle. Being the worst of the starters, though, is not anything to scoff at, because that still puts it in, like, the top 50. Ponyta is this high because I like horses and fucking love its shiny. This is a simplistic shiny done beautifully right. They don't even change the skin at all because it doesn't need to be, because all your focus is on those beautiful blue embers. Kabutops, just like Amistar, is worse than the pre-evolution, but I still really like it. It's a lot like Scyther, but it just rounds out to be a bit better at everything than it does. I don't know why Mr. Mime is this high. Omanyte is a cute little fossil Pokemon that for the longest time I liked better than its predecessor Kabuto. But in recent times, I haven't grown to like it less, just like Kabuto more. Dodrio isn't a particularly good Pokemon, but it has the major advantage personality-wise by having the 3 heads, which I can only imagine are constantly bickering with each other. On a good or bad day, I could have Doduo higher or lower than this one, but the deciding factor is that I think the lime green on Doduo looks a bit better than it does here. Alakazam is miles better than Kadabra because it has another spoon. Machamp is a go-to example of a good final stage evolution. This thing can hit like a truck, has a cool concept, a cool design, and a shiny. And at the very top of B tier, we have Pikachu. I like it, but I don't love it like everyone else. It's a good mascot for the franchise, and it's cute, and it's decently powerful, but there's no wow factor to it that makes me really think, okay, this is an A tier Pokemon. And getting into the A tier, why do I have Slowbro higher than Pikachu? You know what, I'm just gonna fucking go with it. Slowbro's cool as fuck. This derpy, lovable thing with a shelter on its tail and an actual good shiny boosted into being in the category of really good Pokemon. Charmander is adorable, and for being as simple as it is, the fire on the end of its tail makes this thing work so well than just, oh, it's a lizard. While realistically probably being the least viable of the 3 starters, it's still probably the best fire type line in Kanto. And neck and neck with it is Bulbasaur. I feel just edging it out for me. I've always had a soft spot for this thing. The bulb is ridiculous, but also adorable on its back. It kind of looks like a frog, and that's pretty funny. And while I don't fault anyone for liking Charmander more, as I've always struggled between this decision, today, I just feel like giving it to Bulbasaur by a smidge. The worst legendary goes to Articuno. It is okay. It's a really good ice type, but that's not saying much because it's the ice type. And frankly, there are just better bird Pokemon out there, and much better legendaries too. Haunter is a staple of the A tier. This is the exact kind of ghoul that should be in the line for the mascots of the ghost type. Everything about its design and personality is incredible. Its shiny lacks a little bit, which sucks. And while the concept for ghost isn't anything mind-blowing, it's still a good concept. Magnemite is kind of adorable. The magnets are cute, and when you're the only type of what is arguably the best type in existence in your entire generation, you're gonna be considered pretty viable. And right ahead of it is Magneton. Normally Pokemon that when they evolve, it's just more of them I don't love, but like Diglett, this one really works because it's magnets, so of course they like pull together to form a better form. I don't know why but in recent years, I have grown to fucking love Paris to an unhealthy amount. This thing is so underappreciated, mostly due to Parasect being garbage, but Paris on his own is adorable, a cool concept with the mushrooms that is followed up on in its evolution. That's the one thing I'll give Parasect, and even its shiny's pretty rad. The problem is, everything about it's just okay, but I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I put it that low, so we're bringing back the emergency +7 points for no valid reason thing. And Paris, you fucking deserve it. Moltres. Yeah, it is a rubber chicken, but it's a pretty cool rubber chicken because it's on fire. Being a legendary, it's obviously useful, and while its shiny isn't anything amazing, I actually quite like it because of how well it goes with the fire that doesn't change at all, giving it not a burnt look like the internet would like you to believe, but a slicker color palette, I feel. Like Vulpix, Growlithe is a shining example of a good first stage Pokemon. This boy is loyal and obedient, and his evolution definitely deserves the title of legendary Pokemon, even though it doesn't. It's in the Poké. You know what I mean?
Jolteon
is really badass. You can just tell by looking at it, this thing's personality is electric. It's one of the designs where all the spikes actually do it a lot of favors. Obviously, being part of the Eevee evolution line, its concept is great. It just sucks that the shiny is puke green. Aerodactyl is badass, and that's all you need to know. It's definitely the most deserving fossil Pokemon of things like, say, a Mega. Its shiny's a little weird, but I can respect it. And it's a pterodactyl. It's obviously A tier. I adore Kangaskhan, and it is one of my favorite single-stage evolutions in the franchise. The whole concept of it being, like, the parent Pokemon is cool. The theories about it having relations to Cubone and all that are cool. Its design is cool. Even its shiny, on paper, I shouldn't find good, but I do. This is just an incredible Pokemon, especially for a normal type. Ghastly is a ball of pure psychotic joy. Its shiny's incredible, its viability is incredible, its design, its concept. What's the other category? I don't care, it did good on it as well. This is one of the best first stage evolutions in the game. Ninetales. The design is next to flawless. The shiny is gorgeous. Obviously, being based on the actual nine-tailed fox is great for a concept. If it was just a any way more useful fire type, it could have S-tier potential. And again, my least favorite of the starters, but still an incredible Pokemon, is Blastoise. It is just a turtle with guns, and that works. Being the worst of this generation's starters on a tier list of all starters, I'd probably still put it in B tier, maybe even low A. We're gonna skip this one. Ditto's just a purple blob and has one of the best concepts of any Pokemon, period. If it ever becomes a staple again, that Ditto's shiny transforms into the shiny version of whatever Pokemon it's looking at, then move this 8 places up on the list right now. I can't really explain why, other than that, it looks like a Skittle when it's shiny. Magikarp is just a fish, and it's one of the best Pokemon on this list. You'll notice that for each evolution line in this list, I've given all the stages in that evolution line the same rank for viability. I'm gonna make an exception for Magikarp just because it's blatantly weak when it's in this stage and gets much more viable when it evolves. This is one of the most perfect golden shinies out there. We're bringing it back. Another +7 points for no actual reason. He deserves it, and you know it. Porygon was ahead of its time. This thing has a great shiny, great concept, great design. This is another great example of especially a normal type Pokemon. Though frankly, it could be electric, and I don't think anyone would bat an eye. Nidoking is a beast. This is the ideal beast Pokemon. It has a great design, is actually pretty viable, plus a little bonus points in viability for all those old speedruns of Nidoking with Horn Drill and using the X accuracy to guaranteed hit it in every fight. Its shiny is one of the best shades of blue for any shiny I find. It's amazing how much better this thing is than its female counterpart. Okay, for real this time, this is the best example of a normal type in Generation 1. Snorlax is a fat, lovable sloth who was basically just invented to be a roadblock, and that works perfectly. Its teddy bear design and its uninteresting shiny that I feel like just the saturation actually works for it pretty well compared to others that don't change that much, put this thing very, very high on the list. Venusaur is, like I said, probably my favorite starter line for Kanto, but I know it isn't the best, and I'm okay with that. Venusaur isn't the prettiest thing, but it doesn't need to be because the flower makes up all the pretty for it. That didn't make sense, but who cares? It's basically just a big frog, and I love that. Its shiny's really good. I don't see any debate in this just being a really good starter line. Okay, so I might have lied again, but also maybe not, because I really like Meowth, but it probably isn't the best normal type. I've just always had a soft spots for cats, and I always will, and this is probably my favorite third favorite cat Pokemon. Yep. So while nothing aside from its personality is remarkable, I like having it up here. So yep, we're doing it again. Plus 7. Always 7 points for no explainable reason. This is the last one, I promise. Eevee is a marvel of a concept for a Pokemon. And in the first generation, I still think it's the best of the line. Its design and concept are beautiful, its shiny is a shimmering silver. Of course, it's viable because it can be 3 different Pokemon. Eevee just excels in every aspect and is well deserving of being a kind of second mascot for this series. It's a banger of an A-tier Pokemon that just misses out on the top 10. And starting our top 10, we have Dratini. Not the best pseudo-legendary line, but is probably my favorite first stage pseudo-legendary. This thing is adorable, its shiny's adorable, the way it is usually depicted swimming in water is adorable. Honestly, the entire line's connection to water is really cool, I think. It is well deserving of the pseudo-legendary title. And like how Dratini is the best first stage pseudo-legendary out of all of them, I would still say Dragonair's also the best middle stage of every pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Like Ninetales, it's beautifully elegant. Like Dratini, its shiny's amazing and even has the orange pearls to give it that extra That's honestly the deciding factor for me of which one to put over which. My god, just these two are great. The best of the legendary birds, Zapdos, is a marvel of a bird Pokemon. The spikes are amazing. Being electric type, it's incredibly useful. It doesn't have the disadvantage of being 4 times weak to Stealth Rock like its other 2 counterparts. Its simplistic shiny, just the saturation, makes this one pop a lot, and I really like it on this Pokemon specifically. And at the very top of A tier, we have Dragonite. Its kind-hearted nature, its oddly enduring pickle green shiny, its connection to water, and that one episode about it in the anime with like the lighthouse and its fucking Gigantamax. God, I love this thing. While the connection from Dragonair to this is a little strange, I can look past it just because of its gullible frying pan face, dude. 25 years later, this is still like a top 3 pseudo-legendary, I think. And finally, the S tier, Lapras is a beautiful Pokemon with incredible backstory, concept, design, and shiny. I remember SOS shiny hunting for this thing in Ultra Sun. I remember running across a freeway up a steep hill into what looks like an abandoned parking lot in pitch black middle of the night in 2016 to find one of these in Pokemon Go. I have such a connection with this Pokemon, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love this thing. And frankly, it would be a 10 out of 10 design if it just had a bow tie. Charizard. It's iconic for a reason. It's probably the most famous Pokemon behind only Pikachu. Its shiny is what dreams are made of. Its design are what dreams are made of. Its mega is what dreams are made of. Also, basically for this entire list, megas aren't actually taken into account, but like, it's worth pointing it out. Both of them are pretty cool. Probably prefer Y though, just because of the shiny. I'm rambling. Yeah, I am rambling, because this thing is worth rambling about. I have no quarrel with people who still call this the best starter, even though it is very overrated. But like, it's overrated to a point where like people say it's a triple S tier instead of an S. It's still phenomenal. I fucking love Mew, dude. Probably everyone at one point in their life has been asked the question, if you could have one Pokemon in real life, what would it be? I think my answer would be Mew. It's adorable, It's obviously viable, it can learn everything, its shiny's incredible. This thing is just, like, a 9 out of 10 on everything. Easily my favorite mythical, and there's just nothing I dislike about it. It's fucking Bingus. And the top 3, if you've been paying attention, you know what they are. In 3rd place is Gengar. This is the embodiment of a badass Pokemon. Its design isn't too complex, but it's still scary enough to be like, okay, yeah, this is a fucking ghost type, and it's a banger one at that. Being the only ghost type line in Gen 1, no shit, it's viable. And now, I'm not gonna dodge around it. Gengar's shiny sucks ass, but I was not gonna have this thing be like a 39 just because of one fucking problem with it that gets solved in the Mega Evolution to an extent unheard of. That Mega's shiny and the Mega alone, top 3 ghost types for all time. And the top 2, and coming in 2nd place with 49 out of 50, my favorite legendary Pokemon, Mewtwo. Let me break this down for you. Its design being a bigger, bolder, scarier, and more intimidating Mew is obviously fitting because of what it was made to be. It helps having an entire movie dedicated to your backstory when it comes to concept. There is no more viable Pokemon on this list. Again, having an entire movie dedicated to your backstory can help a lot when it comes to concept and personality. And while I can't give it the 10 out of 10, I have to say, Mewtwo's shiny is grossly underrated. This is one of the best lime shinies out there, period. There's maybe only one shade of green I like better than this one. This thing was genetically designed to be the perfect Pokemon, and in my opinion, it succeeded. My favorite Pokemon, period, is Gyarados. I don't know if I can really explain why. The story of the red Gyarados in the Lake of Rage, the Magikarp evolving early, the whole philosophy behind it being from the Japanese legend of a carp jumping a waterfall to become a dragon. The shiny, this is the mascot of all shinies, and the thing I like most about the Pokemon franchise is shiny hunting. Obviously, it's viable. The only reason it doesn't have the dragon type is because in Generation 1, that would have been too fucking broken for anyone to handle. I kind of just figured out that I liked this thing, and it stuck for years and years to come. But on that basically concludes the list. Here's the thing in its entirety, ordered. Maybe in post I made some subtle changes, I'm not sure. This is never gonna be the exact same for the rest of my life. Like I already said, this franchise means a lot to me. Hell, when this video goes live, I'm gonna be downtown in my city playing Pokemon Go. And feel free to put, well, actually, no, don't feel free to put your entire list in the comments. I'm not gonna read it. I'm actually just, that's so much work, are you kidding me? Maybe like top 10? Yeah, actually top 5. Top 10's kind of pushing it. Or you could just not care. Hell, look at watch time. Probably only 25% of you are still here. If you're one of those 25, cool.